Well, hello there, and welcome to my book corner. This is my bookcase, which is pretty much double stacked, and as you can see, has paintings leaning on it because I don't know where to hang them, and some carnival masks and many candles, but mainly books. So this is where I like to sit and read in the sunshine in the afternoon when I get the chance, which isn't very often. And it's been glorious weather today, so it's been even better for it. But today's video is all about this new October themed book thing, very descriptive, that I'm participating in called Booktoberfest, which is the brainchild of a lovely writer whose blog is Blots and Plots, and also her Instagram page is of the same name. And I discovered this a couple of days before October began, and I thought, I don't usually do these post a day challenge things, but it seems kind of fun, and I love the idea that a whole group of people can be discussing books together on the basis of posting about them. So day one, obviously being October the 1st, was yesterday, and it was my favourite book. Now, anyone that knows me will know that I hate that question because I can never answer it. I can never pick just one book. There are so many that I love, and I don't even have a favourite genre or a favourite author. I have, a few authors that I really love, but I do think these things can be cyclical, and it just really depends on where you are in your own life. For me, one of the many things that I love about reading is how it can completely transport you into another world, and I think every book gives you that opportunity to explore something, somewhere, sometime, fictional or not, that you maybe don't know about or know very much about yourself. And I love the character development element of things. I love when there's really rich, beautiful, descriptive prose. I love when I can connect with a period of history in a really real way through a book. So there's lots of things that I really love, and I probably could chat for ages about that. But this particular post is to do with the Booktoberfest, so I thought, well, I've got to make a decision. I managed to narrow it down to two, and I wouldn't say they are my favourite books, but they were childhood favourites, and they are books that will always stay with me in some way or other, and will always mean something to me. So I have got these two, Joe's Boys and What Katie Did at School. Now, Mum, if you're watching this, I know these look like your copies. They are your copies. I'm fairly confident you gave them to me as opposed to just lending them. But if they are only on loan, I'm really sorry, and I will get my own. But I love them so much. If you let me keep them, I'd be really happy. Okay, so that's my plea out of the way. What Katie Did at School. If you've read any of the What Katie Did books, even if you haven't read all of them, you will know about Katie Carr and her siblings and the general excitement that is their hilarious adventures and lives. And I think part of the reason that I really love this particular book is firstly, the connection that I have always felt with Katie. I think when I first read What Katie Did, and even in the first chapter, there's just this beautiful moment where she gets called a giraffe. And I so connected with that because I was a very tall, gangly, bit awkward girl growing up. I was never really quite as ladylike as I would perhaps have wanted to be. And being the eldest as well, just feeling like a secondary mum sometimes and trying to set a good example to my siblings, but really probably being a bit annoying and bossy and all those things. There are just lots of characteristics of Katie that I connected with. And so What Katie Did at School, she and her sister Elsie go to boarding school. And I just loved the boarding school thing. I loved the stories, them making wreaths out of autumn leaves, getting into trouble for having bits of cake tied to the bottom of strings by the local boys' school kids and hoiked up through the window, and Christmas boxes filled with apples and freshly baked cookies and books, and the water freezing in the sink in the winter, and just so many moments, so many fantastic characters as well that you come across in this book, and I'll always connect with it. I really will. I mean, between this and Mallory Towers, it's an absolute wonder that I didn't manage to persuade my parents to send me to boarding school, because I really did think that that was what it would be like. So perhaps it's for the best that it didn't happen, because I probably would have been disappointed. So that's what Katie did at school. And Jo's boys, oh, well, Jo, again, a character with whom I feel some connection. I love her fevered scribblings. I love her heart-to-hearts with her mother. I love the fact that when she argues with her sisters or their friends, it's mainly just because she doesn't want to have to give in to social norms and dress herself up as something that she isn't. And she really intensely feels her social awkwardness, but it actually is part of the reason that she develops the character that she does, and the skills that she does, because she really puts so much of her time and effort into her writing. And I would have loved to have a little garret to read and scribble away in and eat apples and whatever else she used to get on with. But I love the resilience of Jo. And Jo's boys, obviously, she is already a grown-up at this point, and when you followed her through the other books, it's really wonderful to see like the old Jo and the grown-up Jo, and how she still retains all those really strong characteristics that you love her for earlier on. And she has softened and she has become kind of maternal, but she's still, you know, in the dirt with the boys, scrabbling around for things. And all the anguish and all the difficult work that she's gone through with her writing and the rejections and trying to figure out what to do with herself has actually borne some fruit for her, and she's, you know, published. And I think, you know, as a writer myself, and well, someone that absolutely loves to write, I suppose you'd have to refer to me as an unpublished writer, because I haven't published anything. I don't really know whether people make the distinction. You know, I just, again, really connect with Jo. So those are my two books for day one of Booktoberfest, favourite books. And book two is asking for you to post about a book that has made you cry. Now, I would say that being made to cry by books is, it's been a fairly common experience for me. I will pick up on pathos quite easily, but I think there are two different reasons that books make people cry, well, main ones anyway. And one is because something tragic has happened, you know, a character's death or some tragic event on a larger scale that's occurred, and that will connect you with you emotionally. But also it's possible to be made to cry just from something that's beautiful, and when you see a struggle and a fulfillment at the end of it, that you can respond emotionally to that as well. There are very few books that I've found that have had both effects on me, and so I think that's why this particular one really stuck in my mind. This is The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, and it picks up on the character of Dinah, or Dinah, who is just a very small episode in Genesis in the Bible. It's quite a violent and unpleasant episode, and Anita Diamant has just taken this and created an entire story around it, which fleshes out who this girl is, but also her mothers, her grandmothers, and this period of sort of ancient history and this nomadic people group, and particularly how the women will connect with one another, and the stories and lore that are given generation to generation that help to form their outlook on the world. And it's quite erotic at points, it's quite violent at points, but there's real beauty to it. There's real grounded, earthy kind of approaches to humanity and womanhood and what that looked like at this period of time. And yes, obviously it's mainly fictionalized, it just draws on some historical elements from the period, and that particular little text. So it calls itself The Oldest Love Story Never Told. But it's fascinating. It's so fascinating to me. And I was about 16, I think, when I first read it. And it felt quite forbidden, I think, at 16 to read a book that did discuss sex quite a lot. But, well, you know, I was a prude, so what you can do. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it's a beautiful book. It's a really beautiful book. and I do recommend it. But yeah, that's definitely made me cry, and I'm sure that if I reread it, it would again. So those are my Booktober posts for October 1st and 2nd. I won't always put them up as a video, but I just fancied having a chat today, and I'm sat in my little sunny corner, and I've had a piece of cake, and I've got some letters to write now. So yes, I may go out and enjoy some of the sunshine for a while. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.